What's going on, yo?
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome to our humble little show that we've put on for quite some time now. I don't know why I'm doing this in the crazy, weird NPR voice, but I'm just going to go with it while
I
we
was
get
gonna say it
started.
does sound very NPR-ish.
Yes,
So
it does. It's almost like the skit from Saturday Night Live. Mr. Sweaty, your balls are so tender. Yes, they're especially good when it melts in your mouth.
indeed.
That's
What do you
awesome. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. As I said a minute ago, welcome back or welcome for the first time to the Battle Bros podcast with myself and my best friend over here, Mac and Alamo. That's us. I'm Mac. That's Alamo. Obviously, you can see from the titles if you're watching on some type of viewing device, you can see that. So, hey, how you doing? Um, we are two guys that have been friends for a very long time, and we do a podcast talking about issues related to the military and veteran communities primarily, but we don't limit it to just that scope of audience. We also kind of talk about things that could be related to law enforcement, first responder type stuff, or just your average everyday run of the mill, Joe Snuffy, everyday common man kind of thing. So
Joe Sniffy.
we will get to all of that in just a little bit. Did he find his way back, Macho?
We got him.
Okay, cool beans. All right. We'll explain that in a second. So, yeah, today is February 6th, 2026. For those of us in Florida, I hope everybody's staying warm. I'm not trying to compare it to everybody else across the country who has had like some legitimate bomb cyclone winter ass weather. But for those of us that have lived in Florida most of our lives, when it starts getting into the 30s, it's time to test your mental state kind of thing. So we've had 30-degree weather most of this week, and it's been
Yeah.
interesting. Either you love it or you hate it, or you're just kind of like, mild inconvenience, whatever. It's all good.
Indeed.
I also need to apologize to everybody at home listening, or everybody that is viewing or listening to our program. Excuse me. Um, for the fact that I'm coming down with the crud. So if you hear just an obnoxious sniffling noise in your car stereo, I do apologize. I'm not trying to make you swerve off the road or into oncoming traffic. I apologize. I will try to keep that to a bare minimum as best as I can.
Vitamin D, zinc, and
Dude,
lots of Schwepp water.
I've been taking like I said, I've been taking every time I usually drink a lot of OJ. I have like a big glass of orange juice in the morning, and I'll be topping that off with a packet of emergency, the vitamin C supplement
Yeah.
and stuff. That seems to help. Plus,
Mix that up with the vitamin D and the zinc. Trust me. You don't
so
even have to
yeah,
get like a lot, just like the like 10 milligram freaking pills. They'll work.
I take a vitamin D pill already. I take a multivitamin. I take some turmeric curcumin tablet. I take a vitamin
Great for
D.
inflammation, by the way.
Yes, that's why I started taking it. I feel a lot better. Like I'm not like so stiff and like that, and I'm kind of starting to stretch a little bit more. Like getting in, no one prepares you for getting into your 40s, and they're just like, "Hey, dude, here it comes," kind of thing. But I do those three, and then I also take a Zyrtec tab every morning just to keep that in my system, and seems to help. But when everybody at the school that I work at and everywhere else, like I was saying, my daughter is staying home from school today because she's had the crud. Everybody's in there just doing all those like god awful like fire breathing dragon, except it's all boogers and junk. It's awful. But
Yeah.
anyway, enough about that. Like I said, we're two guys that have been friends for a long time. We have a podcast. We've been doing this for going on 4 years and change. Coming up actually on what, 5? This summer will be 5 years, right?
Yes. Damn.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
Time
Anyway,
flies, man.
we'll get into all that in a little bit. If you joined us previously or last week, I'm sorry, if you joined us last week, we did an episode that was episode 122. We were talking about the subject of reputation. I thought that was a pretty good conversation that we had on that. And also discussed like if you have a reputation that's not exactly great, how to repair it, especially for those transitioning out of the military, going into the civilian sector. That can be a big deal that you need to work on, because you got to make yourself marketable to all the civilian folks that may not know a lot about the military and all that kind of jazz. So if you want to go
Indeed.
back and rewatch it or re-listen to it, you can check out Spotify. You can check out YouTube, any one of our various platforms, and all that stuff at the tail end of the program. But for right now, before we get into it, we're going to cover a little bit of news that we have. So 2 stories. One of them is kind of a little bit history based, current events history based, and the other one is directly related to what we're talking about with our special guest host. Oh, by the way, surprise, we have a special guest host. First and foremost, the historical thing. So a few years ago, the Air Force announced that they were reintroducing the warrant officer ranks to the United States Air Force. They have not had those since 1992. The last active duty Air Force warrant officer was a CW4. His name was Bob Barrow, I believe. And he retired from the Air Force Reserve, and he was honorarily promoted to the rank of CW5. So they've never actually had a CW5 serving on active duty until earlier this week. The Gene M. This is from airforce.mil, the Air Force Ascensions Center, published February 4th of this week. This is Wednesday. The Gene M. Home Center marked a historic milestone as the U.S. Air Force welcomed its first and only active duty Chief Warrant Officer 5, Jason Godwin, Warrant Officer Training School advisor to the Commandant from the U.S. Army during a transfer of service ceremony January 30th. In 92, and this is what I just mentioned, in 92, CW4 Bob Barrow retired from the Air Force Reserve as the last warrant officer in the Air Force and was honorarily promoted to CW5. Said Air Force Captain William Ahrensberger, WOTS Assistant Director of Operations. He was the only airman to ever hold that rank. Today, for the first time in 34 years, and for the first time ever in active service, the U.S. Air Force has a CW5. Now, for those of you that might be familiar with the Army rank insignia of the warrant officer community, it'll be a long silver bar, and it has either 1, 2, 3, 4 black square dots for WO1 all the way up to CW4. And then for CW5, it's the same silver bar with a long black enamel bar that goes down the middle of that silver bar lengthwise. So the Air Force is the same exact thing, except for the fact that instead of it being black, it's like a powder blue or like a sky blue kind of color. But it's the exact same thing. The ceremony represented the trust placed in Godwin, whose career spans more than 2 decades of technical aviation expertise, joint operations, and strategic leadership across the Army, the National Guard, the Army Reserve, and now the Air Force. The environment is delicate. We are still in the infancy stages, said Godwin. As we build this, it's imperative we do it right. I tell our candidates our goal is to make Air Force warrant officers indispensable. Over the course of his career, Godwin completed 4 deployments, including missions to Iraq, Jordan, and Kosovo. He became what Army Aviation refers to as a quad-tracked warrant officer, earning qualifications as an instructor pilot, instrument evaluator, maintenance test pilot, and safety officer. He deployed in each of those roles and flew a wide range of mission sets, including air assault, general support, medical evacuation, and fixed-wing operations in the UH-60 Blackhawk and the C-12 Huron. I've flown in just about every mission set you can imagine, Godwin said. The range of experience shapes how I look at risk, leadership, and how warrant officers contribute at every level. So, in a nutshell, he was basically there working. He was assigned to the Army calls it the Warrant Officer Career College. So he was under a full bird colonel, an Army colonel. So this branch of service transfer ceremony, basically, he was brought in, was released by the Army and switched over to the Air Force. And the Air Force, he now falls under a major who is the commandant for warrant officer school for the Air Force side of things. So he was actually there because all these warrants were originally going to Air Force training or Army career courses and stuff for their expertise and their training and all that kind of stuff. And they were helping them to build and establish and all that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit of piggybacking going on there, which is pretty dope. So anyway, so that is the article that we have for the history. Now, this next article is going to have to do a little bit with what we're talking about tonight. We'll get into that in just a little bit. You'll kind of see where we're going with this. But this, I was telling Alamo and our special guest host here. It's funny how, like, doing a show, you find things that are just so apropos and pertinent to what we're talking about and everything. So it's really interesting. So, this is an article from San Antonio. This is KSAT.com, which I believe is a news station out there. So I'm going to start reading this one right here. So here we go. This was published, I don't know if it has a date on it. Yes, published February 3rd, and it was updated today at 5:22 p.m. I'm assuming it's Texas, whatever time zone Texas is in. A U.S. Army veteran slammed city manager Eric Walsh and the hiring practices of the San Antonio Fire Department after he was twice disqualified from joining the academy for briefly using a psychedelic drug to treat brain cancer. Juan Torres Valenzuela disclosed in his 2023 SAFD application that he ingested 2 capsules of psilocybin to combat a decrease in his cognitive abilities while undergoing chemotherapy. The drug usage, although short-lived, has caused Torren Valenzuela to be disqualified for the, quote, use of illicit substances. Torres Valenzuela, 31, was commissioned as an Army infantry officer during coming out of St. Mary's University and was deployed to Afghanistan from 2019 to 2020. After returning to the U.S., he encountered a major health obstacle. Talking to one of my friends, just like you and I are right now, out of nowhere, I felt a sharp pain in my head, said Torres Valenzuela, and I collapsed. Doctors ran tests and informed Torres Valenzuela that he had stage 3 brain cancer. They told me that I was a very healthy 25-year-old, but I had a brain tumor, he said. He said the tumor was removed 2 weeks after he was first hospitalized. He then went through an arduous cancer treatment that included 33 rounds of radiation and 12 cycles of chemotherapy. After he noticed that his cognitive abilities were impacted while undergoing chemotherapy treatments, doctors prescribed him opiates. Torres Valenzuela said he preferred not to take the opiates and began researching university studies conducted on psychedelics and their use by people with brain injuries. Quote, I found that the VA was also doing this type of research and clinical trials, but since I was active duty, I could not partake. He said that a family member acquired capsules of psilocybin or mushrooms. He later ingested 2 capsules in a single day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, but stopped after growing concern that the usage would impact him being able to medically retire from the military. He has said his medical team was aware that he acquired psilocybin and planned to take it, and that he was monitored by the team after using the drug. Researchers have said that the psychedelic has been found to have a high rate of improving depressed moods and helps the brain grow and rewire itself. He was eventually medically retired from the Army in 2022 and first applied to San Antonio Fire Department a year later. He said he was honest on the application that included that he briefly used psilocybin. He later took the SAFD exam and then went through the necessary evaluations to join the Fire Academy, including a fitness test, background checks, and medical examinations. The HR department made me aware that answer or that ingestion of psilocybin was a disqualifying answer. But due to the circumstances, they would allow me to continue the process and put me through the polygraph to ensure that that was the only thing that could hold me back. In September of 24, he was informed that he had been disqualified as a firefighter trainee due to the use of illicit substances, city records show. So the reason why he's fighting this, so this happened twice. He went through and got disqualified twice. Now, the reason why we're bringing this up for what we're talking about is there is another person on here. So I'm going to kind of skip ahead in the article here. Torres Valenzuela blasted the hiring processes of the department after learning they allowed a fellow applicant to join the academy despite her admission that she used ecstasy and ketamine recreationally. The other applicant, Sheena McManus, was also labeled as permanently unsuitable for the use of illicit substances, city records show. She appealed the disqualification in 2022 and was eventually hired in June of 24, according to records. Reached for comment, she referred all questions from KSAT about her prior drug use to the department's public information office. An SAFD spokesperson said that McManus's use of ketamine occurred before she was 17 years old. In a separate email, a city spokesman said admitted drug use when under the age of 17 does not automatically disqualify someone for being appointed per civil service rules. City officials late last year blocked the release of emails regarding that female firefighter.
I call bullshit on all that.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, like, so, and having talked to some people about it, I guess it depends on quite a few things. It depends on the person who's in charge of the hiring practices, HR, the city manager, all that kind of stuff. You might have somebody that is very, like, they might have hypothetically, let's say, I don't know, maybe they did some recreational stuff when they were in their youth. So they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Versus somebody who might has been very staunchly against it, or a proponent, or an opponent of that kind of practice. They're like, yeah, no, fuck off. So I guess it depends on that. It depends also just, there's a lot of people that use ecstasy and ketamine, and it's not really seen as being as bad as certain other things. I don't know. It is what it is. So it's definitely something interesting. So the reason we read that article is that this week's episode is episode 123, and it's entitled Fallout Part 1, and we're going to be talking about the subject of discrimination. So this idea came to us from a very close and dear friend of the show, somebody that we both know very, very well. I've known for a very long time. Kind of had the idea about this, and I was like, yeah, we can talk about this as long as you can come on the show, because this is kind of like your baby. So let's roll with it. So if you would please do us a favor and welcome back for the third time, the first and only person to be a 3-time repeat guest on our show, Brian the Brain Ellis. He has been on here twice before to talk about some other things. There he is.
Well,
hey, buddy.
My camera's all kind of like, there we go.
It's janky. Hey, buddy.
There we go. It's still kind of crooked.
This is stair step.
Anyway, hey, what's going on, guys?
So, Brian, thanks again for agreeing to be on the show again for a third time. We appreciate it. So if the people at home haven't seen you before, tell us a little bit about yourself, my man.
Yeah, man. So before I go into introductions, man, I just want to say again, Alamo Mac, man, thank you so much for allowing me to come on your show. Like you said, I'm a third-time repeat offender on your show.
A repeat offender.
I'm humbled, right? Because this is your guys' baby, and you allow me to come on here and sometimes I steal the show a little bit.
Does three times denote being a serial offender?
Maybe.
That's a thought.
It's a thought. It may, right? It may. But yeah, no, never, whatever the fuck I'm trying to get out of my mouth here. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So about me, God, I gotta talk about myself again. Listen, I hate this shit.
So tell you what, I'll do that for you. I'll get the ball rolling.
Go for it, and I'll do the gritty details. Go for it, bro.
So Brian is somebody that I met when I first got to my unit a long ass time ago, back in 2004. You guys just came home from Iraq. Yes. And got called up and rolled into state active duty for hurricane duty, and he was like, "Oh fuck." And I felt bad for you guys. Like, you guys just did an 18-month pump over in the Middle East, and now you're home doing that kind of stuff. So it's like, can we get a break? But you and I have gotten to know each other over the years. The three of us plus our good friend Robert just went camping last month up in Ocala National Forest, which was a great time. Again, so glad we got to do that. Let's plan the next one. But you've also gone on and you went and used I believe you said you used your GI Bill. You went to college. You got your degree and then your master's in psychology.
I got educated.
You got educated. So for the folks at home that don't know, so you have a certification and you have another title. You're a licensed mental health counselor, and then you also hold certified recovery peer specialist title. So can you kind of break down the difference between those and explain the differences, why they work together, and why it's important for you that you claim both of those?
Yeah, of course. It's a really good question. And in your high-speed studio chat dilly deal over here, I did send you guys the links. So if you want to share those links with your
oh, cool. Okay.
Guests, you're more than welcome to. That's going to take you right to the state of Florida and how to obtain said certification, licensure. And then 2, if you ever want to look up your clinician, if you're working with a therapist, or if you're working with somebody they're presenting themselves as a certified peer specialist, you can look up their credentials.
Okay.
You may need more than their name, right? You may need more than their name, but you could verify people's credentials with the other 2 links. All right, so a certified peer specialist. So my entrance into the clinical field started immediately after my treatment, right? So real quick, down and dirty, right? I deployed to Iraq. I deployed to Afghanistan. Iraq was 03 to 04. Busted my fucking ankle in Baghdad. It wasn't some high-speed fucking combat story. My buddy and I were wrestling. He fell against me, and I snapped my ankle in half. Literally, my foot did this. It went right. So I fractured.
Lovely.
Fucking was it my fib? I don't know. Fucking know.
I think you've explained that before.
I'm a mental health guy, man. I'm not a fucking biologist. But I fractured my tibia right below my knee. I mean, a spider crack, and then I literally broke my tibula at the bottom of my ankle. The bone just went. So they had to screw it all back together. So that was Iraq. That was Iraq in 03, man.
So would you venture to say that you're part Iron Man now?
Oh, buddy, I haven't even got to the good parts
yet.
Oh,
yeah. Hold on.
As he wanders off screen here.
I have fucking like all these things like
Is that from your ankle?
It's my spine.
Oh, those are the ones that were in your spine.
Yeah, look at these guys. God. So I'll get there, right? So 03, man, I went to Iraq. I was 11 Bravo. I was a guard guy, man. Fucking busted my ankle and then did my surgery, stayed in the military, ended up getting into the reserves, ended up fucking joined a Black Hawk unit just to work on helicopters and ended up flying in the backup as a crew chief. Got put in a medevac unit. So I ran medevac duty for a year, we'll say 9 months actually, in Afghanistan in 2011, 2012. Awesome fucking job, man. If you're thinking about going to the military and you haven't been yet, or if you're low on the totem pole and you want to figure out a new job, Army aviation, best kept secret in the military. Anyway, moving forward. So deployment to Afghanistan, loving life, being fucking a crew chief guy. Fucking on one of the, I don't know, I lost count how many missions I went on. I busted a vertebrae, man. I didn't just break a vertebrae. I fucking broke it in half kind of deal. So I had a break. I had a little bit of a slip, and I had kind of like a compression. So it just went kind of like this, So when I got home, this vertebrae down here, it was broke. I think it was that's one, and the vertebrae above it was slipped, and the disc was crushed. Right. So they went in. They did a pretty big surgery, man. So I had, they flayed me up, and I got a picture of it. It's fucking cool, dude. When you see your own spine, right? No. So they went in. They did a fusion. They put cages in. Then it was like 6 months to a year recovery, man. I was still in the reserves. I was trying to get back into shape. Started jogging a little bit. and I have what they call cage migration, right? So if you see my fucking handy, I'm not getting ready to do something with that. I'm just showing you, okay? But all right, so this right here would be your spinal canal. This is your spinal cord.
Alamo,
right?
make sure this is not the clip we use for YouTube this week, okay?
See that guy? Anyway, so this area right here, this is called your femoral canal, okay? And so what happened with my cage, all right? My cage that was put in place on my disc, I had cage migration. So the cage actually migrated into my femoral canal.
Ooh.
And the cage isn't anywhere near my my spinal cord, but you can imagine if you could see the head of the pin, it's pretty fucking scary because the cage migrated and it's a solid piece of steel. Okay, so whenever they do a surgery like that, man, they put like bone growth material and stuff like that. That way, it helps the rods and shit like that. It helps your spine to be much more rigid during that fusion. So they can't go in and chip out the new bone that was grown, the synthetic bone, and then take the cage out. So they just had to leave it, right? So what they ended up doing is that caused a ton of fucking nerve issues, man. So my right leg was like, if you could imagine taking a fucking Zippo lighter, putting it on your skin and holding it there, that's what my right leg pretty much felt like, and my foot was like a baba. So
God.
that ended up staying like that for about 2 years, and then I finally, I did physical therapy. I did all the shit that you're supposed to do before you have another surgery. I ended up having 3 revision surgeries. All right. And my 3 revision surgeries, that's where all this fucking high speed shit comes from. So they took out all the hardware on the right side. This is a fucking rod. This is part of the rod. The rod was cut in half, I believe. These little fucking cool guys, these came out of my spine, dude. I got 3 of these fuckers. One of them was on my keychain, man. That actually was taken on my spine. They had to fucking cut this off. They do all this shit with lasers too, man. It's like fucking cool. So yeah, man. So after all that, right? So I had all my medical shit on top of my back surgery, man. I fucked my knee up, right? I was running up hills of gear and shit like that, fucking mountains and shit like that. Doing medevac stuff, man. I ended up fucking my knee up, so I had to have knee surgery as well. I had knee surgery right when I came home, then I had back surgery after. They had to make sure the knee recovered. And then hand surgery, man. I had hand surgeries too. What the fuck? I crushed the nerves in my hands when I was over there too, doing no fucking how. And it wasn't from this. But anyway, I digress. You okay, Mac? You good, buddy? You're
just listening to the story, man.
Visual, Mac? You good, buddy?
Listen to the story. You do you, boo boo.
Anyway,
all right.
Man. On top of all the medical shit, man, I was doing mental health stuff, right? So I was, God, man, if you would have said the phrase post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD or trauma, like what the fuck ever, that's all bullshit, right? So unfortunately, when I came home, man, I really nosedived, right? I had all this severe chronic pain. I was in this enormous amounts of pain, and that severe chronic pain was really masking some mental health shit, man. Because like I said, dude, I was a medevac guy, man. Listen, I'm not saying we were fucking some high speed unit, fucking, like the shit you see on TV, dude. But when you see so much shit for so long, it starts to get to you, right? Plus, I had my deployment in Iraq. I lost a buddy. Plus, I have childhood shit, man. I had childhood trauma, right? And when you start putting all those together, they really start to build on each other, right? And you have trauma, and you have trauma, and you have trauma, and you have trauma, and what I call your shit filter. So your shit filter gets full, right? And when your shit filter gets fucking full, like you're fucking emotionally just destroyed, right? So you become fucking numb. Substance use really, really fucking, kicks up, right? I was a fucking big time drinker. Irritability, isolation, you really try to find anything to make yourself feel better. But unfortunately for us, a lot of that has to do with substances or sex or buying shit or breaking shit. We're really good at breaking shit when we're fucking do this stuff, right? So I was doing all that. I was doing all that, right? Which really pissed off my second ex-wife, right? So she sent my ass to the fucking VA. So I went to the VA, man, and I fucked off for a good 2 years, a solid 2 years at the VA. I fucked off. I had a therapist. I was in what they call the post-deployment health and education clinic, and it was just for GWAT vets in Tampa, Florida, man, at the Tampa VA. And you know what? I don't want to say I fucked off because there's days I tried, there's days I wasn't, but I didn't go there on my own, man. I didn't make the choice to go there. It was like my ex-wife was like, "Get the fuck out of the house, go see the doc because you're an idiot." So I went to the VA, man, and then I kind of had the come to Jesus moment, like a lot of us do. I almost went to jail. I did some stupid shit. I was really fucking intoxicated, had a really fucking bad attitude. I kind of hated the fucking world. You know, this is, I think, I want to say 2014 when ISIS was really bad too. So it was that guy that was fucking drinking, right? And listen, if any listeners that are out there fucking, you can relate to this, pay attention really quick because I was that fucking knucklehead, man. I was pounding, I was drinking probably 12 to 18 pack a night. And then sometime I'd switch up, right? I have like a 12 pack, then a half a bottle of fucking Jack Daniels, right? And then I switched to Crown Royal. So I was boozing hard, man. I was experiencing delirium tremens or DTs in the morning. So I was shaky in the morning, right? Because I was going through withdrawals in the morning. I never graduated to fucking popping a beer or drinking whiskey in the morning. I never got there, man, but I was pretty fucking close. But where I'm going with this, man, is I was that guy that was drinking really, really fucking hard, and I was watching ISIS fuck up Syria in the Middle East play by play. If I wasn't fucking doing school shit because I was in college at the time, I was watching ISIS. So what that means was I was putting myself back kind of in that mentality, kind of like that I want to go fuck up a country mentality, and I want to be in the military mentality, and I want to fucking be in combat. So it took my brain, man, and it put my brain back in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And then also when you start mixing other people's stories, all the movies that you watch, all your fucking nightmares that don't make sense because you never lived what your nightmares do, right? But you mix all that shit up, man, and that was a fucking train wreck. So got in big trouble one night. My ex-wife, I think I was made to get in her car, and then she drove me to the VA during one of my appointments, sat down with my therapist and said, "Look, he's fucking broken. You fix him. Do something with him, right? Do something with him." And that at that moment, because I pretty much knew the night prior or the couple nights prior to that, I not only did I almost go to jail, but I could have probably gone to jail for a long time. It was that stupid, right? It was one of those fucking idiot moments. Okay. So thank God, right, that things worked out the way they did. I'm not saying I got a pass, but things worked out, right? So I did treatment, man. I did treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder, accompanied by substance abuse treatment, accompanied by physical therapy. So I was working on mental health, I was working on substance use, and I was working on physical health, right? And all three of those things kind of worked together, man. And what ended up happening at the end, I was a much healthier person, right? I was a much healthier person. Now, I did relapse in regards to alcohol. Divorce happened, all kinds of other shit happened. I can't remember how long I stayed sober. I ended up doing like harm reduction for a while. That's when you reduce your alcohol intake down to the almost like the bare minimum. But when I got to a point where I was done with my treatment for PTSD, I was no longer drinking and I was sober, and I'm going to say somewhat functioning in regards to physical pain. I was asked by the director at the VA clinic that I went through all my treatment in if I wanted to volunteer at the VA as what they call a recovery coach. So a recovery coach is somebody that volunteers and you're simply there just to talk with other vets that are having a really hard time. Maybe they can't talk. Maybe they don't feel like they can talk to their therapist about what they experienced overseas or in the military, or the shit that goes through our head, that really, really dark shit, right? Not just a dark humor, but that really dark shit that runs through our mind, right? And you all know what I'm talking about when I say that really dark shit, the shit that scares us, right? So I spent 2 years volunteering at the VA to be a recovery coach. Now, the reason why the recovery coach program existed was when you do 500 hours as a recovery coach, you can then apply for what they call a certified peer specialist certification, or certified recovery peer specialist. All right. And the requirements for that is that you're sober and healthy for at least 2 years. So I met those requirements, and they count the time that you have to get your hours as well. So I wasn't healthy and sober for the 2 years before this process. We'll say a solid year, right? So I ended up doing, like I said, about 750 hours, and I only needed 500. There's sometimes I'd work 40 hours a week. Sometimes I work 5 hours a week. It's just all depending on how much time I can get them. So it took an extended period of time. But at the end of it, I did my 500 hours. I did have to take a state exam to pass to become a peer specialist. And at state exam, it was a couple hours exam, right? But this training that I received as a licensed clinician right now, as a licensed therapist right now, I would consider it like a junior clinical training program. I still use the skills that I learned as a recovery coach and all my training for a certified peer specialist today as a licensed therapist, because it taught really, really healthy boundaries. It taught active listening skills. It taught really, really good communication skills. It taught me how to use self-disclosure in a clinical manner, without just throwing out my story and potentially causing, which is a thing, secondary trauma to somebody. But the whole idea behind a peer specialist is that you're somebody that you've walked that path, you've lived the boots, you've went through the hard times, you went through treatment, and now you're there to help somebody out that's having a really hard time with all these additional clinical tools, right? And to me, and we're going to get into my licensure really in a minute here, and I'll be really brief on that, but becoming a certified peer specialist, to me, in my heart, is worth much more than going to school, than going to college and have a master's degree and then sitting for a 6-hour fucking exam that I had to study for months on end. My certified peer specialist certification and credential is much more near and dear to my heart, because it means I fucking walked in those boots, man. Right. And I came out on the other side. Right. Now, as far as the licensure to become a licensed therapist, you have to have a bachelor's degree in some type of social science, right? Sociology, psychology. You could probably be anthropology. You'd have to check. Some colleges, they want you to have something that has to deal with like health sciences. And so I have a bachelor's degree in science, or I'm sorry, in psychology with an emphasis on counseling, and then I have a master's degree. The master's degree is like the philosophy of science of counseling. So my whole education has to deal with both psychology and counseling and therapy, therapizing people, providing counseling for people. It was a very long process. Like I said, you get your bachelor's degree, it's about 4 years. My master's program was 2 years, so that's 6 years of school. And then to become licensed, to actually have a licensure, right, you have to do what the state of Florida calls, it's a postgraduate internship. So I had to do a 2-year postgraduate internship. So if you total all that up, right, 4, 2, 2. How many is that? 8.
That's 8.
It's 8 years. I did 8 years of specialized training just to be where I'm at today as a licensed therapist. Now, if you add the other 2 years, right, when I was doing the shit at the VA, it's another 750 hours of training. So it's 10 years. So I have 10 years of training and experience in the clinical field. Okay. And within that field, I've acted in the role as a therapist. I've acted in a role as a peer mentor, and then also a homeless outreach specialist. If you heard my story on here before, probably one of my favorite jobs was I used to walk the streets, I used to walk the woods, and I used to find homeless vets, and I would build rapport with the homeless vets, and there's still Vietnam vets out there, guys. But I would build rapport with the vets, and I would work really hard to get them out of the woods. Right. So I know I kind of took probably 15, 20 minutes of my introduction, man. That's who I am. Right. So the reason why I went a little bit long today, man, is because listen, if you aspire to do something, you're never too fucking old. We had a retired command sergeant major that was in my graduating class. He was like in his mid 60s, and he decided he was going to be a therapist. There's a lot of us that were NCOs or whatnot, and we still want to take care of troops, right? Or Marines or sailors or airmen. What do they call fucking
Guardians?
Well,
fucking guardians or guardians?
I would say not only that too, though, Brian, but like you reiterating that part. I mean, honestly, like there's parts of my story I heard in that. So that's just me being completely honest with myself, where I know I was going down a bad rabbit hole, and I know I started having bad thoughts, and like it just you spiral when you start to feel like you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, not just that, but also the fact of like there's I mean, the three of us have all had very different, careers and lives, and I think it's Brian, I think the term you've told me before is experiential reality.
Yeah, experiential reality. Yeah.
So the three of us have had, similar but ultimately different. But if you think about the similarities and stuff in times of greatness and in times of being low and not knowing what's going to happen and just the uncertainty, it's like that's something that we can lean on to like help each other out. And it's like that's so critically important. I think people forget that all the time, even like, talking to my daughter, I'm like, she has a core group of friends, and they may not have the same kind of life, but they have enough to where like they can be like, okay, I can sort of understand what you're going through there. Let me help you out and lean on me a little bit. And it's like it's a wonderful thing. And that's so critically important to kids growing up, and even adults in there. Damn, like look at us, like Jesus. I mean, like I'm calling one of the two of you guys if I got shit going on. It's like this guy or this guy, So
Well, listen, one of the issues that we all have, man, and this is my clinical perspective, man, is that when we leave service, we don't just leave service. Like you're leaving a family that you probably had more in common with than your biological family.
Yeah.
Right. For guys that did 10, 15, 20, 30 years, that's their life. Right. And they're indoctrinated into the military, and that's what they know. That's what their brain knows. That's what their nervous system knows. That's what their body knows. Right. Growing up in the military and basic training are like fucking muscle memory, where you're not just training your muscles how to do fucking push-ups. You're training your fucking noodle, right? How to process information, how to step in fucking line, how to interact and engage with other human beings, how to communicate with people, right? And it's a very specific way. And it's all the military way, right? Even if you're a guard guy or reservist, you think that fucking shit just turns off on Monday? No, you're indoctrinated. Your brain is indoctrinated. Your nervous system is indoctrinated, right? You can try to turn it off, but I guarantee if you start thinking about how you interact and engage with coworkers, family, your fucking neighbor, whatever, that shit's still in you. It's coming out, right? So So it's part of who we are, man. And I'm gonna make Mac fucking turn red right here, man. I'll tell you, I gotta think Mac again, man, because like Mac was actually there and he bear witness to me at my worst.
Yeah.
Throwing up, fucking calling for help because I don't know what the fuck, I'm so fucking drunk. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Right. Just got into a fucking, argument with my stepfather, almost getting into a fist fight, like all that stupid shit, man. Or the stupid stuff, right? The stupid stuff. The stupid shit. He went through my whole sobriety, the very beginning of my sobriety, man, where he kind of babysit me almost every fucking night for a couple hours. We would go for 2 or 3 hour rides, man. Like that's what I needed to get sober. That's what I needed to get healthy. I needed a buddy, but I didn't just need anybody, man. Like I needed a brother in arms for me. This isn't for everybody. This is for me. I needed a brother in arms, man, that I had complete confidence in that wouldn't take advantage of me when I was in my most vulnerable state.
Yeah.
Right. And that right there is probably the most important thing, because if I was unable to just be me in that moment, right? If my guard was up in any way, that was gonna put my brain in survival mode, and I wouldn't. There's no way I would have been sober, because once my brain went back into the whole survival mode, and it was fucking like, and I was like, I'm in fight mode because I'm not a flyer, I'm a fucking fighter, right? That wouldn't engage the other part of my brain that was also an addict, right? That needed to be soothed by a substance. Okay. That's why that's so important, man. But I do kind of want to shift gears, man. And I know I took a couple minutes in talking about that shit, but when you introduced the show and introduced me, you said we're gonna be talking about discrimination today, man. And throughout all of my travels, man, within academia, within the VA, within the clinical community, fuck, dude, within the medical community, man, my family, fucking neighbors, man, and then also as a clinician, as a licensed therapist, I've worked with too many vets, man, too many vets that have broken down in my office and shared stories on how family, coworkers, medical professionals, clinical professionals, fucking just people walking on the street hate them. They feel like they're hated, right? They're discriminated against, openly discriminated against. They're never defended. It's almost, people walk around, and it's not just today. This is 10, 15 years ago. It's not just today. It's not just today's environment. This is, again, 10, 15 years ago that this shit was going on too. It's acceptable. It's socially acceptable now. The fucking browbeat us again, like it was back in Vietnam in the 60s and 70s, man. So that's kind of where I want to take this story, man. And I have to start this with family, right? And we're gonna kind of go like your inner circle, like your immediate family, and then kind of branch out, and then kind of go out through, society, the wonderful society.
So hey, before
ahead,
you get into the family thing, let me just read something real quick, and then I will give it back over to you real fast. So
yeah, go ahead, man.
Since we're talking about discrimination, we normally give like some kind of a definition. So the definitions that we found, being twofold. Number one, the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people, especially on the grounds of ethnicity, age, sex, or disability. And is also defined as the recognition and understanding of the difference between one thing and another. Okay, so that's going to be our definition of discrimination. So again, Brian, please go ahead and continue on. I just want to get that over with real quick.
Yeah, man. So listen, I like I said, I want to talk about family really quick, man. And I come from it's fucking weird. My family's weird, and it's not just my family, man, because I've talked with other vets that have a similar experience. But there's one part of my family, man, that they did every war. You know what I mean? I had family in every ward, like most of us. But there's another part of my family, unfortunately, the part of my family that was most influential on me, impacted me, and I spent the most time around, were they hated, I mean, they hated the government, they hated the military, they couldn't say anything good about service members, vets, or government, and so I kind of grew up seeing my uncle, hearing about my grandfathers, um, and second, third cousins and stuff like that do these great things. My one uncle, I see him in uniform. He was a Air National Guard guy. He was an SP or MP, and I remember interacting and engaging with him, and he ended up doing the Haiti thing and stuff like that. But and I looked up to him, and that's my mom's brother. So on one hand, I got my family tearing apart the military and the government, and on the other hand, I got my uncle over here who's a really compassionate dude, that loved people, man, that really wanted to fight for people. And I was like, well, I want to be like this guy, because this guy is always fucking good to me. He doesn't fucking talk shit about people. He doesn't want to fucking, ruin people's fucking, reputation, or what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, he doesn't want to fucking character assassinate anybody. He just wants to help people. So personally, I gravitated towards that, but I paid for it, man. So, just speaking about wanting to join the military growing up, I was already ostracized from my family. And then when I ended up joining the military, the part of my family that told me my entire life that they didn't like fucking me. Well, what do you think happened? They disconnected from me, and it includes my cousins too. So we'd have periodically, man, we'd have interactions and stuff like that, or phone calls or texts or whatnot. But eventually, soon after my Afghanistan deployment, I didn't talk to my family for probably a decade, right? And it made a big impact on me, man. And my initial thought, being a fucking 11 Bravo, right? My initial thought was, well, fuck them. I don't fucking need you, right? But now let's be honest about this shit, right? I miss my family. I grew up with my cousins. I rode fucking dirt bikes and fucking snowmobiles and 4-wheelers, and my cousins and I went hunting together, man. And we fucking herd fucking cattle and shit like that together at 3 a.m. Like I had a really good bond with my family, even though they didn't like the fact I was going to go in the military. But it sealed the deal when I went in. Like, they didn't want to have nothing to do with me, and that caused a really fucking deep wound, man. Because although, again, I could say, well, fuck them, they don't know who I am. They don't know why I joined, right? What my fucking nervous system was saying, right, and my emotional side of my brain, that's your right brain, was saying, well, I'm in fucking pain because I just got abandoned by my family and the people that I love, that I cherish, that I grew up respecting. Even though they didn't like things I wanted to do in the future, like, I still love them, man. So it didn't affect me to the point where I was like, woe is me. But we're gonna say it was the building blocks for self-destruction. Okay. And that's how I'm gonna label this. Like, that all those interactions of my family giving me shit about joining the military and then disconnecting from me, those are like the foundation, right, for destruction for me. All right. So that was, I want to say, those are immediate family members. They're up in Michigan, where I'm from, if you can't tell by the accent. But I also had people here in the state of Florida, that I would have never thought in my life turned on me when I made the decision to join the military. Even my first ex-wife, who was my high school sweetheart, we walked each other to the bus stop. I remember her telling me one day, after, almost right at the end of high school, she's like, "Look, you go in, we're done. I'm not staying with you." right? This is like 98, 90, when was Kosovo going on, man? K4, right?
That was like 98, 90,
99, something
mid to
like
late
that.
90s.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of,
definitely Clinton administration.
yeah, and it was like, fuck, I want to join, I want to do my part. I was over 18 at that point in time. And she's like, look, fuck, we're not going to stay together. You join the military, we're not going to stay together. She's like, what would I do if you got hurt? I'm not taking care of you. And I was kind of shattered, man, because I remember being like, I can't fucking wait. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. I want to be a part of this, man. I want to go fight, I want to go fight the fucking bad guys, man. But I was ready, man. I was ready to answer the call, man. The fucking sense of duty kind of, it's just what I'm about. It's who I am.
Real quick, to answer your
Yeah,
question, it ran from February 98 to June of 99.
sweet. Appreciate it, man. So,
Yep.
man, so that was kind of like the other blocks that started to form on top of the blocks of my family, So, if you add all this shit up, now I have the person that, I had a child with that I was married to that was telling me, hey, fuck you, dude. If you go in the military, I'm leaving you. And if you do go in the military and somehow I didn't leave you and you get hurt, then I'm not fucking taking care of you. You're just gonna have to figure out some way to wipe your own ass if you don't have arms or some shit, right? So shit started getting even thicker with mom and dad, right? My mom never told me that fucking she was disappointed. Mom really didn't like the fact I went in the military. Really didn't like the fact that I went in the military. Matter of fact, sidebar, my 27-year-old daughter went in the military when she was 24, and my mom chewed my daughter's ass for joining the military. She didn't do that to me. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yeah. So it's part of my family, man. They just don't like the military, right? So on top of all that, I also worked for an employer that did not like the military, and I can't share who the employer's name is, and I'll share why later. But there was recruiters that would come in and visit me sometimes at work. It was a public place, and I was talked to numerous times about how they couldn't solicit in the job. Fast forward, we all know what happens on September 11th, right? I enlisted, working for the same employer. By this time, the ex-wife was gone. I was a single dad. I couldn't do active duty. I enlisted for active duty and changed it. I was like, I can't leave my kid for 4 years. Did the guard shit. So I don't know, for you active duty guys, you probably don't know this. Guard and reservists, you know what happens when we enlist. We don't have to wait to go to basic training or complete basic training to go to our unit. You enlist April 1st in the fucking Guard or Reserve. A couple weeks later, you go to your unit. You're already drilling, right? So I enlisted December 20th of 2001. My first drill date was sometime in January. My employer is like, sorry about your luck. I can't give you off. I'm like, well, my recruiter said that I could fucking go. Mind you, I have been in this job now for 3 years. So I started the job in 98. So 3 years later, they're like, fuck you. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you off. Called my recruiter. He's like, well, they have to. My employer is like, I don't have to do shit. You have to work. And if you don't work, I'm firing you. So that was my first experience within the job market and within civilian employment in the military, right? So they fucking won, right? I no longer had that job with the basic training, yada, 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 right? So you got to think about all these blocks that are fucking building up, guys, right? So I have my family shit over here, right? Now I have my romantic relationships over here. All right. Now I have my employer over here. And I did have friends, man. I did have friends too that were like, "You're fucking stupid. Why are you going in the military?" Right? So all this shit, man, that we experience at the very beginning of our fucking our career, we take with us in our career. We take with us. Now, a minute ago, I did mention I was a guard guy, right? Um, so that's a whole nother dynamic, right? It's a whole nother dynamic being a guard guy, even compared to a reservist, right? So there's some discrimination there for being a guard guys. It's ribbon for the most part, right? But some people just don't fucking like us. Okay. Um, so all that shit added up to, right? So I was like, well, fuck, dude. I left my fucking family who really didn't like me that much. Joined the military to be part of this shit. Didn't want to leave my kid, so I joined the guard. Now I'm eating shit for joining the fucking guard. Like, I can't fucking catch a break here, man. You know what I mean? So that right there is an important one to really think about. If you're a guard guy, and you feel like shit, you're in the guard, right? Don't feel like shit, man. I know that's easy for me to say, but listen, you fucking did your thing. You sacrificed your life and shit like that, especially you deployed. But I digress. So probably one of the worst experiences I've had with discrimination was at the company I worked for, man. I did basic training. I think I was home from basic training for a few months. I got deployed to Iraq. I think it was 4 months. I think I was home for 4 months from basic training. I worked some odd jobs and shit like that. Deployed to Iraq. I got done with the mission. Got done with freaking hurricane duty and all that shit. Ended up getting hired back by the same company, who was pro-military now. Until the hurricane season rolled around, and they tried to fire me because I was activated for hurricane duty. Right, in the hurricane season that we had, it was 2 years in a row. I think it was 05 and 06, right, Mac? That it was horrible, man. I mean,
want to. Well, you came back in 04, so I think it was 04 and 05.
04 and 05.
Because I was gone. I left in July of 05, so I wasn't there for that one. But I know you guys came back in July of 04 and then immediately got rolled up because you guys were still rocking your 3-color DCUs when you guys came back, and you had to swap over and put on BDUs to go work hurricane duty. I'm like, but
yeah, I remember that, man. I remember that. Yeah. So that, I went back to the same company because they offered me a pretty penny. It looked good on their part to hire soldiers and shit like that again. But again, man, they tried to fire me numerous times. I did all the hurricanes from 04 until 08. I was in until 08. So, after Katrina, if the wind blew hard, the state of Florida would call the guard up. So I did all those hurricanes, man. Oh, yeah. And every hurricane season, it didn't matter who I was working with in the company I was working for. They tried to fire me, man. They tried to fire me. And they weren't discreet about this shit, right? Like, I was threatened. My job was threatened. I was told to go find a new home. You're not reliable. We can't have you here because we don't know if you're going to have to leave. I was in upper management, so they didn't like the fact that I could leave at any time.
Question. Do you think that during this time that all this is going on, when this started happening, when you were having to report for hurricane duty, state active duty, whatever the case may be, do you think part of it was just the fact that USERRA was not a commonly known thing?
That's a really good question, man, because USERRA came out in Desert Storm because of reservists and guard guys that were called up and got fucked over. So I would say, as a soldier, I did not know anything about USERRA until I seeked out legal counsel.
So for those at home that might be listening or watching, for those of you that don't know what USERRA is the Uniformed Service Members Employments and Reemployment Rights Act. And as Brian was saying, that came about during Desert Storm. all these reservists got called up during the initial push into Kuwait and all that kind of stuff. When they came back, they weren't always guaranteed their positions or whatnot. They might have been fired just because they had to leave or whatnot. So this was a way for the government to kind of go and kind of, you know, make sure that we just weren't coming back and like, hey, you served your country. Thank you for your service. Shit out of luck, you lost your job. Go find something else. Push a broom, kind of thing. So
yeah, it puts us in a protective status, so they,
yes.
you know, they can come down pretty hard on employers if they start fucking with their job and shit. So listen, where I'm going with this, guys, and I'm trying not to drag my feet, but I'm really hoping that you guys are paying attention, because there's a lot of guys that I've worked with that went through the same shit, man, and they sucked it up and they're like, fuck it, I would do another job, or they just drank more and they dealt with it, right? And they just kind of became a fucking doormat. So this behavior from this organization that I worked for, it went from 2004 all the way up until 2011, right? So I worked for that company for almost 12 years. And when it came time for me to deploy to Afghanistan, they had given me a lot of shit about the military, man, because I ended up reclassing. I went from 11 Bravo to a 15 Tango. Tango school was like 4 months. They fucking hated that. They knew shit was going on with Afghanistan, and they were trying to get rid of me for almost 2 years. So, you know, any perceived mistake I would make, you know, if I didn't have a doctor's note when I was sick, I was just threatened over and over and over again, man. It got to the point where one of the individuals I was working under, I was in upper management. We shared a management email. The fucking idiot. He was sending the division manager messages and emails saying that he wanted to get rid of me. Military people. He was really, really open about how he disliked us. And I made complaints to HR, man. I made complaints to the division manager, who was his buddy. They played fucking golf together. It didn't make a difference, man. None of that shit stopped. It finally stopped when I got a lawyer and I sued the fuck out of him. Okay, so you're listening to somebody, probably one of the few people that has successfully won a discrimination case. I sued the fuck out of them, and it came out in mediation that, yeah, they withheld raises, they switched my job locations around to get me to quit, they withheld promotions, they admitted to discriminatory behavior. It was all in email. The fucking idiot didn't delete the emails. He never thought that I was on the email chain. So I had him fucking dead bank. But man, it's so important, if you're going through this, man, that you look up USERRA and you get a fucking lawyer, right? You have so many more rights than you know. And it doesn't matter if you're a vet, a reservist, a guard guy, man. If you're a vet and you have a ton of medical shit going on, you have medical appointments here and there, USERRA is not going to cover that, man. But if you feel like you're being discriminated against, man, just don't suck up and drive on. Like, face that shit and make those fuckers pay. Right? That's the only way that we stop that shit. Right? So moving on from an employer, man. So you got to think about, again, you got family, friends, romantic relationships, employment. Employment's a big part of this, right? Because we got to fucking feed our families, man, right? And when you're going into work every day and you're being discriminated against, that shit fucking sucks. But one of the things I learned at the VA, man, and this is if any VA employees are on here, I'm sorry. But one of the things I learned at the VA, man, is there are a lot of VA employees, man, that they don't like us, man. They're making their money, right? They're making that paycheck, man. The VA pays very, very well. But it might be a political party line thing. It could be a different ideology. Some people just need a job and they'll go where the money's at, man. right? But I experienced a ton of discrimination at the VA. I used to sit down in clinical meetings. The way the VA employees would talk about the vets, it was disgusting, man. It was disgusting. There's a lot of civilians that work at the VA. They're scared of us. There's a lot of derogatory talk going fucking back and forth. And that's with the clinical team. That's with the medical team. That's with fucking the information chick, right? But it was disgusting, man. It was disgusting to see that where we're supposed to go, um, where we're supposed to. I hate saying safe place, man, because fucking safe places sounds fucking bitchy. But where we're supposed to
Yeah.
go, and we're
It's
supposed to go to good.
I was just gonna say that term is kind of like taken on its own kind of connotation in
Yeah.
a different way nowadays. But please continue.
So I'm not going to say safe place, man, but safe place. But I am going to say that it's supposed to be in an environment where we go get healthy, right? Where we become vulnerable, so we allow people to help us, right? It's very hard to do that when maybe you have PTSD or you have other mental health issues, and you can read fucking body language really well. You could read people's facial expressions really well. You could hear it in the tone of their voice that they may not like you just because you wore the fucking uniform, right?
Yeah.
It causes.
I can honestly I can honestly attest to that, man. Like, I'm not gonna say what store it was, only because I mean, obviously, this is YouTube and but I was going shopping with the fam. We were doing a little bit of Christmas shopping before the holiday, and I don't remember who we were buying for at the time, but we went to a certain retail store that sells clothes at a discounted rate. And God, when we went in there, we were getting ready to get to the register, right? And there was a young lady behind the counter. She made eye contact with me, and specifically me. I was wearing my Iraq War veteran hat, and like specifically eye
zeroed in.
contact,
Yeah.
zeroed in, and not to get into full detail, but this young lady was of a specific faith. Doesn't know me from the hole in the wall. Doesn't know what I went through. Doesn't know what I did. But she was doing everything in her power, from calling extra employees to the counter, all this other stuff, to try and make sure that she wasn't the one dealing with me when I got up to the front. And it's that kind of hate. Like, you can, it's almost like human nature. You can feel the seething hate just coming from that individual, and I felt that the entire time. And I'm just like, you don't even know me, man. You don't even know me.
Yeah.
But
no, that's hard, man. That's hard, dude, to stay composed sometimes, man, when you're experiencing that, especially if you're going through a hard time yourself, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Something I just thought of too is, like, if you think about it, we went from like the mountaintop to the valley. If you think about it, because like, after 9/11, patriotism's at an all-time high. People that are in the military, like, everybody's saying thank you for your service. So like, especially like, I remember, dude, and Brian, you can maybe attest to this, like going to drill and stuff. Somebody had a radio or a phone in the back of the 5-ton or the deuce and a half. Somebody was playing the Toby Keith courtesy, the red, white, and blue. Like, everybody would see us going on the highway, they'd honk their horns. A couple of guys made up signs that would, like, all the guys that would dip would sit kind of back towards the end of the truck so they could just spit out the back of the truck. A couple guys made up signs that said, support your troops, show us your patriot tits. And it's like,
yeah,
I don't remember names, but it's like, hey, I remember that kind of stuff. And so we go from that, and people, like, I can remember, dude, being on Colonial Drive, State Road 50 in Orlando during hurricane season. We're talking about 2004. And people were walking up like, you guys are out here busting your asses. We thank you so much. Here's a crate of water. We had like people bringing all kind of meals from like Boston Market and stuff. Like we were living it up good.
Yeah.
And you fast forward 2 decades and it's like just, I don't want to say forgotten, but we're kind of like looked down upon member of society. It's just like,
I
Yeah,
think
we've
it's
been
it's a think about it, man. It's a generational thing. Like there's a whole generation that has like been born and graduated high school since then.
Yeah.
It's like Jesus,
Yeah.
God, we're freaking old when you think about it. But
I know, right, man. I know,
still,
buddy.
you know, and I think that's a large contributing factor. Like they didn't grow up knowing what it was like to live during that era.
yeah.
And
Well,
what it
you know
was
what?
like to see those
I'm
towers
sorry.
come down.
And it's trendy. Let's be honest, man. And it's trendy not to like us.
Yeah.
Well, you also just kind of get a feel for like when people are just going with the flow. Like you mentioned, you know, the whole thing that happened with you and having to sue for USERRA violations or stuff. Without naming anybody specific, somebody that I'm very well acquainted with, kind of went through a similar situation, went to get a job with a company that was kind of known for being very pro-military, pro-veteran stuff, and went to get a job there. And he disclosed that he was a drilling member of the National Guard. And they're like, oh, you just have to go once a year, right? He's like, I have to go once a month and then 2 weeks in the year. And they're like, yeah, that's not going to work. And then he told me about this, and I was like, you need to look up what USERRA is. And I had to educate him on that. And he was just like, dude, I am floored that I had to just go through this with this day and age we live in. And mind you, this was quite a few years ago. This was like pre-COVID that we're talking. So it was a different kind of mentality and whatnot. But just also this company that is I would dare to say a well-known company in the public sector, you know, that has made a reputation for being, you know, pro-military and stuff. He's like, I just can't believe this. You know, it's like, I'm like, I hate to tell you this, like that's how it is, man. Like it's crazy to think that. So it's kind of almost just like you're not mad, but you're just disappointed, and that's like
Disappointed, yeah.
so much worse.
Yeah.
Especially in the organization that you're referring to. You and I had a conversation about that numerous times, man. And it's fucking really fucking disappointed, man. Like I almost wanted to kind of disconnect from that whole fucking organization, but I'm just
I
so
did.
tired. Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It pissed
Well,
me off.
for the aspect that I used to be a customer of theirs, but it really wasn't worth it in the long run. I was just like, let me take my business somewhere else, and I did.
Yeah.
So problem solved. But
you know,
anyway.
man, I want to go back to the whole, you know, the whole trendy part of this, and how the shit that we're going through right now, and then with the Vietnam vets we're going through, man. It's a lot of it starts in academia, man. It starts in the schools, and Mac, you know, Mac went through that whole fucking process with me, man, from starting college all the way up to I graduated. And I tell you, man, like, listen, I love school. I'm a fucking nerd, man. Like, I'm a fucking psychology nerd. Like, I watch lectures. I fucking read books. Like, I'm a fucking nerd, man. Like, I look up journal articles. And I love academia. I love the learning part of academia. But one of the things that I ran into, man, is there are people within academia that have authority over you. And once they find out that you're a veteran or that you're a currently serving military member, not only do they discriminate, but they're very vocal, openly vocal on how they disagree with you wearing the uniform in their class, or what you've done or what they think you've done in the military. I had one professor, man, and I dropped his class almost immediately, man. It was like fucking day 3. And I try not to announce who I am. Like I'm not that guy that you're going to see me walk around with fucking like military shirts on even back then. I kind of discreet.
You're
Even
not
back
the vet bro.
no, no.
Basically.
And back then I was really fucking hungover, so it was like shorts, flip flops, and a probably like a Detroit t-shirt. You know what I mean? Or like a car t-shirt. I mean, I didn't scream vet, even though everybody tells me I look like a vet. But something happened in the class where I introduced myself, and the question was asked, and yeah, okay, I'm a vet, whatever. And then the professor asked me if I had deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. I said yes. Listen, guys, I try to be truthful, even though if it hurts me. He fucking called me a terrorist. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? He's like, you're a fucking terrorist. I'm like, and he tried to engage in a conflict with me. He wanted to be into an argument, this debate on whether or not it was internationally legal for us to go to Iraq and Afghanistan, all this other stuff. And I was like, I didn't really play ball with him. I just looked at him, and I was like, you know, I'm here for school, man. I'm like, and I was a fucking peon. I was like a National Guard reservist guy. I was an E5. I know nothing. You know, this is my fucking name, rank, and serial number, right? But I dropped his class, man, and that was really like the start of a 9-year systematic issue within academia, where throughout academia, man, myself and other vets were discriminated against, man, and openly. I mean, openly without remorse and with no fucks given, right? Um, when I was in my master's program, I was in a psych program, a master's psych program. All my professors were PhDs. These are seasoned therapists. They were some of the most discriminatory human beings I've ever met in my life. And that school, we got a ton of VA guys, a ton of fucking vocational rehab guys, which I was. And they fucking tore us apart in school, man. They tore us apart.
We don't care about you guys, but we'll take your money from the government that you worked for and served for.
Yes, they fucking will, buddy. Yes, they will, man. And they sit even at old crusty sergeant major, man. I mean, he felt it at the end too, man. They really browbeat us, man, for who we are. You know, for deploying and stuff like that, and it even kind of questioned our morality and whether or not, right, we could actually,
Because in their minds, we're baby killers.
be
That's
a
what it
therapist,
is.
right? Like, can you be a therapist and be a soldier? You know, kind of thing. And you're absolutely right, Alamo, man. I mean, there's a lot of people with that mentality, man, that they just think that we're bloodthirsty fucking murderers, man. And you can't tell them no different. You know what I mean? You can't tell them no different, man.
There's just so much more to that. I mean, that's like one side of us. It's like we're like a Rubik's Cube. There's so many different sides of us and so many permutations and combinations. Look at
Right.
fucking Tom Spooner, who was a fucking pipe hitting big dick bastard who was with Delta Force for years. And now this guy runs one of the like most awesome freaking wellness and recovery centers, Warrior's Heart. It's like, look that shit up. And then I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit heated here because you were talking
No,
about
I
that.
hear you, man.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, like, I'm
I'm heated, man. Yeah. And
and
you
I'm
know,
back.
and to go any further, man, to go even further, man, in like the field that I'm in now, like it's and this is directly related to how this conversation got started about academia with the teenagers and stuff like that. Like, people were brainwashed, man, right? So they're in high school. You know, if they're lucky enough to have an open minded teacher that's not going to spout fucking hate and political BS,
Burn
then
them.
the kids are going to be, you know, they're going to be well rounded, and they're not going to be discriminatory about people that they're indoctrinated to be discriminatory. But the vast majority of teachers,
One of the best teachers that I ever had and that Alamo ever had was a vet, and his name was Bruce Burnham. He was a
yeah,
Vietnam War vet, and he
Rest in
did
peace,
he
Mr.
did
B.
world history honors. He did history of the Vietnam War, and he was like, "Listen, I'm going to tell you how it is on both sides." The only time he was not like even keeled on the fence is when he talked about his experiences in Vietnam. He was very blunt and he was very honest, and he was like, this is how it was. when he talked about like his best friend getting killed and they found his body and the manner in which they found his body. It's like you're a teenager and you're just like,
Yeah, you're like,
ugh,
holy fuck, yeah.
like it's crazy. But
And listen,
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good, you're good.
And listen, I'm not by any means am I saying that all teachers are discriminatory against vets and patriotism in this country, but unfortunately, it is very trendy, and it has become a problem that teachers are spewing out their opinions openly with little kids that are impressionable. And there's just a lot of anti-American, anti-military, anti-government sentiment that are being spewed to our kids, man. And they grow up into adults, right? And then they become therapists. One of the things that I have found within my field, I mean, I was really lucky, man, with the organization I started working with at first. Uh, when I first became a therapist, the vast majority of people were they brought me in with open arms. Um, I could say that wholeheartedly, but there are still quite a few people that they didn't talk to me, they didn't associate with me. Um, they wouldn't have nothing to do with me, man. And it wasn't because I looked different than them. It was because I was a military guy. It was because I was a vet.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why they wouldn't work with veteran clients, right? They had their own political ideology that they're very fixed and rigid in, and they did not like us, man. And that's an issue, man, because
No.
I've worked at quite a few places since then, and everywhere I've gone, man, because I'm very open about my experience. Because being a certified peer specialist, the vast majority of my clients that I do work with are veteran first responders. I let that be known. That way, those clients can come to me. Some therapists they don't know how to, or they don't want to deal with them, and
Yeah.
so I make it known who I am, so I could capture those guys that are suffering, that need help, but they need help from somebody that's culturally competent, and that they know that's not going to discriminate them.
That's probably one of my new favorite phrases.
What's that?
Culturally competent.
Yeah, it's culturally competent
It's
is
it's like if you
really
hear stories about like people like, if somebody, and this is just an example, like a police officer who stayed on the department, retired from the department, didn't like people, didn't like guns. Like you're gonna have to learn how to use a firearm as part of your job duties, and you don't like dealing with people, and you're oftentimes a first responder to something going on, a car crash, a burglary dwelling, all kind of different things. It's like, how do you not like people and want to do a job where you're going to routinely come in contact with people? It's like, huh? It's
yeah.
just one of those things that it's like, it shouldn't be that difficult to think about, but here we are.
Yeah.
The same thing with the teachers and like the radicalization of, like the being, shaping and like spewing their own political and personal beliefs onto other people and whatnot. It's
Which,
like,
by the way, on that freaking, if you want to check out an article on that, Brian, I linked it in the private chat.
Awesome. I'll check it out. Cool.
So it actually talks about how Bosnian kids were, like, after the Bosnian genocide, were radicalized by their teachers.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah.
No. So, man, listen, guys. I know this is heavy shit. I know this is heavy shit for some of your viewers, man. I'm going somewhere with this. I know there's a lot of lead up here, but there's so much lead up here, so you get a really good understanding on what's out there. And I'm not saying the whole society is fucking evil, right? But this shit does exist, and you're pretty quick. We're gonna
I would
start talking
venture
about.
to say evil itself exists.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, bro. Yes, it does, man. I do have one discriminatory example that I do want to share with you guys. And to me, listen, guys, this cuts the deepest, man. Right? This cuts the deepest for me. And this is me solely, right? I've already talked to you about my family, man. Like I grew up in a family. A big part of my family that was very impressionable on me. Didn't like the military. Kind of dealt with them, right? Ex-wife, friends, teachers, employers, and shit like that, man. But the worst kind of discrimination, man, that cut the deepest for me, man, was from my own brothers, man. Was from vets, man. Right? That's probably the deepest wound that I've felt in regards to discrimination, man. And it's again, man. There's a really healthy rivalry between all the branches, which is fucking awesome. Right? It's part of ribbing is a big part of our culture, right? And it's enjoyable. It's fun to fuck
If
with
you don't get together with vets and start shit talking, are you really hanging out with other vets? Like, come on now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
Just
But
in
but
my
I
humble opinion.
I hear you, man. I hear you. But man, the issue that I've had with vets, man, with some vets, buddy, is once they hear that you're a guard guy or reservist, especially a guard guy, man. Um, and from what I've witnessed and what I've experienced, is that you have zero credibility and you're not really a soldier.
Your service is devalued. Your
Yes,
experience is marginalized to being
100%, man.
like it's dumb. Like,
Yeah. And man, it's like especially for those of us that we did deploy, we got hurt, we got injured, we got shot, we got blown up, we lost brothers, we lost sisters, and then you come home and you don't have any support from your family, you don't have any support from your employer, you don't have any support from your professors, you don't have any support from society. The last thing you would expect is not to have support from your own brothers and sisters, man.
yeah.
And that's disheartening, man. And to me, that kind of cuts the deepest, man. I worked with vets on a professional clinical level. And I've self-disclosed that I was a guard guy and a reservist, man. And it's immediately the light switch goes off and there's zero credibility there. And there's always questions. There's always integrity questions. There's always, you don't really know how I feel because you weren't active duty. Right. And I get it. I was never active duty, man. I get it. But either were most of the World War II vets, and either were most of the Korean War vets, and either were most of the Vietnam vets. And if you want to go to the World War I vets, and then so on and so forth, I get it. No, but I right now, and the reason why I'm speaking about this right now, man, is we're in a place where we need to come together, and we need to be there for each other. We don't need to be divided, man. You know what I mean? We don't need to be divided because who knows where the next 5 years is going, the next 8 years is going, or whatnot. The grooming, the derogatory grooming, and the rhetoric is not going to go away. If anything, it's just going to ramp up. So we need to be there for each other instead of fucking tearing each other down. And I'm all for maybe asking somebody about their service if something doesn't sound right or look right. But I don't speculate. I don't conspiracy theory. I ask. And then, to be honest with you, and this is me being a therapist too, and being a fucking human being, like if somebody gives me an answer, then I accept an answer because I have no fucking clue what they fucking done in their career. I was at a funeral, man. Unfortunately, my buddy's father-in-law passed away. I think he was in for like 25 years. Former Marine. So I was asked to be a pallbearer. I was asked to wear my uniform. And whenever you're in aviation and you become a crew chief, you get little aviator wings. They're not aviator wings. You get they're crewman badge wings. And I had somebody come up to me and they're like, "Hey, nice wings, guy." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So maybe they thought I got them out of a Cracker Jack box or whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe they were expecting airborne wings, and maybe they thought that I put on pilot's wings because they're a fucking idiot.
I would love to see somebody like that walk up to one of these guys who's a green beanie or a ranger or a Delta operator, and they're just bleh, just stacked with chest candy and cool guy stuff, and say, "Oh, cool guy stuff," and talk shit to them and just watch him put them in their place. I just want to watch. This should be a channel of just guys put guys in their place.com kind of shit, because it's really aggravating when people do that.
Well, listen, and solar valor happens, man. I mean, when I was doing a homeless vet thing, man, I had to call the VA, get the individual service record and stuff like that, just to ensure that they were a veteran, because the program I was in, it was federally funded, and we had to vet the vets, right? And I'll be honest with you, about 90% of the people I interacted and engaged with said they were vets. They weren't vets, right? I get it. And there are a lot of people on YouTube and stuff like that. There are some stolen valor shit, man, where they do fucking walk out and they look like Autumn Murphy, and then you find out they were, they made it to basic training, and then they washed out of basic training, but in their head they're fucking high speed ranger with Tower of Power and all that shit. I get it.
Tower of Power.
I get it, man. I get it. But where I'm going with this, man, is look, we all fucking served, right? Support the fucking dude that or the girl that you're fucking observing and you're maybe conspiracy theorying over. What I do now, if I don't wear my uniform, I haven't worn it in a long time because I'm fucking fat now. But if I have to, after that experience, I think I worn it once afterwards, man. I actually went through. I have orders for all my fucking awards. I have my fucking orders for my wings and shit like that. And I swear, like if somebody integrity checks me, like they're gonna get a face full of fucking paper. You know what I mean? Like fucking read it. You know what I mean? And then if you want to debate it, like I don't know many fucking E4s and E5s that can type out orders for themselves. And fuck your iPerms. Fuck your iPerms. But my point is, man, I get it. I get there's some fake people out there, man, and I get it, and it's fucking annoying. I've dealt with it firsthand. Like I said, trying to get help for people, and they're not vets, man. But you might encounter, and this is where I'm going to go with this. You might encounter that vet man that they may be thinking about taking their fucking life, right? And their uniform, what they earned, all those ribbons on their chest, their experiences, their experiential reality, right, is all they have left. And they're looking for validation. They're looking to be validated so they can step out of that fucking dark rabbit hole they're in. You might be that fucking idiot that might fucking push them down that rabbit hole, and you might be the cause of somebody's fucking, suicide. So just think about that carefully. Or you might find yourself in a fucking what's the legal term for fucking discrimination? Somebody help me out here because my fucking brain just skipped. You might find yourself in a defamation case, right? Yeah. Especially if you fuck up somebody's reputation or career, because that can happen. That can happen, right? So word of the wise. But anyway, I'm gonna get off that soapbox. But I'm saying this again, man, because listen, we need to support each other, man. We do. But how do you deal with all this shit now? I've talked for a fucking hour. We haven't got how you deal with this shit, man. I tell you, listen. Consistent friends that meet your values, that are where you're at, right? They're not trying to tear you down. Friends, family, the people that are there for you in life, that are healthy, they want to see you succeed. Those are the people we hang out with, man. I flushed 98% of the negative people in my life, and those 2%, I can't, because if I flush those people, man, I don't see my kids.
Yeah.
Right. So I've flushed out all the toxic people in my life, man. And I had a lot of brothers that I really loved. I didn't flush them, but I had to give them their space because they're still in active addiction and they're still in that whole I'm gonna wreck my life fucking mode. And I'm gonna fucking isolate and all this other shit. They're in
And
that
I'm gonna
mode.
stay away from that. Yeah.
And I'm there for them. They know that I'm there for them, but I can't be a part of that. And I felt really guilty for that for a long time because I'm like, oh man, I fucking walk away from my brother. But I started looking back, man, and those guys who I deeply love, they would really try to pull me back in, man. When I got sober, they would try to make me drink. They would buy me alcohol, man. They would browbeat me because I wouldn't drink with them, right? Or they try to do illegal shit when we're hanging out and stuff like that. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
You know, it's fascinating that you just said that. And this is not even related to military stuff. I recently reconnected with a friend of mine. We haven't seen each other in probably close to 20 years. And just it started off with an innocent conversation on like Facebook Messenger. And it gets to the point where they're like, hey, why don't you come over? We'll just hang out and kind of shoot the breeze and stuff. So we did. We hung out and stuff. And in the process of us just kind of catching up on our lives in the last 20 years, we talked about this other person who we both know. And they were like, hey, do you still talk to so-and-so? And I was like, not really. And they were like, okay, good, me neither. And it's funny because, like, you know, it's like you said, they just have a lot of stuff going on, and it's more so it's the sake of like this person just wants to like bring you into all the things that they're still hung up on, the negativity. I don't want to say this to sound immature, but like the drama in their life and stuff.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like it's like I jokingly say like, hey, namaste the fuck over there, the kind of thing, you know, and you have to do that. Like taking care of yourself sometimes is just removing yourself. You know, you asked how you deal with that discrimination. Like I'm going to answer for myself here. A lot of times I go back and forth, you know, between, I consider what's what I call an omnivert. Like sometimes I'm very ambiverted, or I'm introverted. Oh, I'm sorry, ambivert. That's what I meant to say. Sometimes I'm introverted, where like I don't really associate with people. I just mind my business, do what I'm going to do, get the hell out of there. But like obviously, when I'm around like my kind of people in my tribe, like you guys, the three of us plus Robert on a camping trip, like I'm going to be very extroverted. I mean, how fucking awesome was it that we're sitting there under a tarp, getting rained on? It's miserably cold, and we're all looking at that blue sterno flame like, that's kind of cool. That's giving off a lot
That
of heat,
fucking
man.
thing heated that
Holy shit.
tarp up though, man. Yeah,
It did. And Brian, I love you, buddy, but I was sitting there looking at this going, what the hell is he trying to do? Is he making a hooch? Like, what is this? How is this gonna work? Yeah, when you had the tarp up and stuff, I didn't want to say it out loud, but I was a little bit like, I'm just gonna let him do his thing. I'm gonna be supportive, but I don't know what's going on, so we're just gonna go with this shit. He used to be a sergeant. I was a Spec 4. I'm just gonna follow this guy with the stripes. Come hell or high water, let's go. And it worked out. And I'm glad it worked out. And I'm sorry to say that out loud and to out you like that. I'm not trying to, but I was just like,
man.
I don't know what the fuck's going on. So
Yep.
and then we get under that
wind, man.
Hey, and it worked. And I was like, okay, I stand
still to this
happily
day-
dumbfounded.
I still to this day don't know how that burner was giving off as much heat as it was.
Man, I know. Yep.
Like if we were able to seal off that little tarp as a little bit better, I think we all four of us would have been nice and toasty.
But like unzipping jackets and getting comfortable, like
Yep.
But
yeah, that tarp situation was pretty funny because nobody thought that was gonna work, man.
But it did. And like
Yep.
all hail Brian the Brain. All hail. So
who called me the brain? Yeah.
I'm just paying, you know, reference to that joke about your card.
Hear.
But no, like, you know, when I'm around that kind of people where I know they've had similar experiences, similar mindsets, yeah, I'm very extroverted.
Right.
And then I become introverted in general public because you just listen, there's all kind of stuff going on. How thick is the damn DSM-5 now? Like it's freaking huge. Like there's all kind of just mental diagnoses for this, for that, and you just don't know who you're going to talk to, what version of themselves you're going to talk to. Like you really are playing a little bit of like, throwing darts blindly at a board. You don't know what you're going to get. So a lot of times, like you were talking, like we talked about, like during certain times recently, you had on that first Jeep you had, you took a lot of that service member stuff off of there, that regalia.
I took all my vet shit off there.
Yeah,
Man.
I
didn't want to
get
be.
that. I was like, at first, I kind of was like, okay, I'd be proud of that. But at the same time, I was like, in this day and age, I was like, I get it. I'm just going to be gray man facing the crowd. Just go.
Yep. You know what? You're absolutely right, man. And I tell you, there's a time and place, I think, where you can display that shit, man. But in the time that I removed all that stuff, my gut instinct was saying you need to OPSEC.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You need to sanitize your shit. That way you're not a target, man. Because in that time, in the community that we live in, and at that time, man, I felt like I was a target. And I didn't want to be a target. I didn't want to be I didn't want to experience what it felt like to be a target anymore, man.
Yeah.
I didn't. You know what I mean?
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Especially
totally
in this day and age of doxing.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But man, to kind of go a little further, and because I'm almost done with this thing, I know we're probably running over, man. But
no, we're good, man.
Listen, man. I kind of want to go with how you deal with this, and I started out with really looking at the people that are in your life, right? Who is in your life that's healthy? Who is in your life that's not healthy? Who is in your life that supports you, right? And when I was in a substance use treatment facility, man, I would always ask my clients to do like an audit, like do an audit of your friends. Like, are they friends or are they associates? And you call them friends, right? Are you fucking in a romantic relationship because you're bored? Are you with the person because you're lonely? Are you with the person because I don't know, maybe it's a fucking a convenience thing, or are you actually with a person that like you want to be with, you enjoy, right? Maybe you love them, and it's not just about convenience, sex, having somebody there because you're fucking lonely, right? Like I ask my clients to do an audit, man. How healthy are the relationships that you were in? In those unhealthy relationships, I usually ask my clients point blank, I'm like, what are you going to do with them? What are you going to do with people that treat you like shit? Are you going to allow them to stay in your life? What are you going to do with people that are toxic and they don't want you to personally grow? They don't want you to be sober. They don't want you to be healthy, right? When we start getting into conversations like, are the people that you're around, is somebody that you're around, are they Munchausen by proxy, right? Where they make you sick so they have somebody to take care of. That's a real thing. That happens to us a lot, especially for those of us that have disability, because we're a fucking golden goose. Okay? So all these things are very complex, but they're really easy if you just take a step back. Audit every single human being in your life. Do you really like your job? Are you being treated like shit at your job? I'm not saying in this economy to leave your job. I'm simply asking you a question. And I want you to ask yourself these questions. Am I happy? Right? I have no expectation that somebody would leave immediately or 6 months in a year, but I do ask, what would it look like if you started making that transition into maybe bettering yourself and entering into a healthier environment, whatever that looks like on your time frame, right? Now, what do we do if we're isolated, we don't have friends or family, and maybe the people that are in our life are negative, they treat us like shit? All right. What I say to that is boundaries, man. Fucking boundaries, right? You don't disclose any information to them unless they need to know. OPSEC. The only information that you give them is information that they need to know for whatever you're doing with them. Two, people have their opinions. I hate to say it, guys. They're entitled to their opinions unless they're in your fucking home, right? Your employer, we already talked about that, right? But how we protect ourselves in that regard, man, is not reacting to fucking shitty people, right? Not reacting to the people that are really trying to cause you to react. Like all that browbeating, name calling, that's they're trying to evoke some type of reaction from you, right? It takes time, but instead of fucking being a bulldog, being a fucking bull and pushing your way through shit, sometimes we have to use our head, man, and just take a pause. Whenever you're dealing with somebody that's trying to get a reaction out of you, when you don't react continuously and consistently, they fizzle out. Like their brain says, I'm not going to get the reaction I want. This person's not going to be my play toy. So now I'm going to go find another play toy. You know, it's really hard for a lot of us because some of us do have trauma in our background. We've been fucked with a lot. We don't want to be fucked with anymore. We fucking hate people. We're really irritated. And if anybody even fucking looks at us cross, we become very argumentative or confrontational, right? Well, if that's you, you got to think about what attention you're drawing to yourself. The attention that you're drawing to yourself are those people that are looking to fuck with somebody like you, right? They're looking for somebody to fuck with like you. Whether you like it or not, you have a vulnerability. And that vulnerability is the fact that you can control your fucking emotions, right? Right? You can't sit there and shit and take it until somebody leaves, right? And that's a shitty fucking thing to have to deal with, but it's the world we fucking live in, man. I've dealt with a lot of people, a lot of professionals, a lot of high-ranking people, a lot of first responders. They could control their anger when somebody was being confrontational with them, and they fucking punched them or they tackled them, right? And those people always call the cops. There's always an assault and battery charge. You always go to jail, right? So I'm asking you to be very strategic in how you engage and interact with people, especially with people that are trying to really push your buttons, man. I really want you to think about how you can game them and not give them what they want, right? Other part of this, man, fucking breathe. When you're going through shit like that, breathe deeply. Whenever we're in conflict, our anxiety is high, we're experiencing intense stress, we breathe shallow and we breathe fast. If you intently breathe deeply in through your nose, take nice full breaths, let it out, right? While you're in conflict, it's gonna help you stay calm. Okay. For my athletes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't control your breathing when you're fucking running 10 miles, 5 miles, you're gonna be all sorts of fucked up, right? Yeah, you know shit. But the other part of this, look, man, listen again. Some of us need to accept that we need to work on ourselves. We have to work on ourselves, man. Right? I would have never fucking went to therapy, man, but it's the best thing I ever did. And now I'm a therapist, right? I'm not saying you have to have a therapist. There's certified peer specialists out there. There's buddies out there that have no clinical training, but you might be able to trust them. They might listen, right? I fucking ask people to start writing their memoirs, man. You fucking have nobody to vent to and you need to fucking scream. Every one of these fucking phones have a voice memo. I teach my clients to yell into their fucking voice memo, to talk into their voice memo for like an hour. You go on a fucking car ride, put that motherfucker in your pocket and just talk. Nobody can hear you. Just fucking get it out. Whatever's in here, get it out. Right? Now, this is where the therapy happens. This is the therapeutic part of this is when you fucking listen to it. When you go back and listen to it. And you get to hear your own voice, your own thoughts, and all that shit that you're frustrated with, man. That's really healthy. That helps a lot of fucking people, man. You know, I always encourage my clients to, if they were once religious, to start thinking about what it would look like if they got back into their religion. If that's not a thing, spirituality is not religion, right? Spirituality has to do with is connecting with nature, connecting with who you are as a human being. maybe thinking about a higher power. If all that shit's not for you and you don't have nothing to do with it, I get it. However, I would ask you to start thinking about what it would look like if maybe you had a purpose, a healthy purpose, and you felt fulfilled at the end of the day, and maybe you were part of something else that was much bigger than you are now, just like when you're in the military, right? When we're in the military, we're always part of something much bigger than us. We had a sense of duty, right? You're sitting on the couch all day and you're isolating, you're probably going to be depressed. Just throwing that out there. You're not going outside. It's not healthy, man. It's not healthy, right? Last thing I want to touch on, because this is going to take us into the next time that we talk. The other type of discrimination, which really fucking burns my ass, man, is when fucking people are jealous. It fucking burns my ass. I deal with a lot of clients that ruin their lives. You know, listen, when I mean ruin their lives, I mean they fucking ruin their lives. They dismantle everything they've worked for because of their jealousy. Okay. You know, most of these clients, their jealousy is within a romantic relationship. They're very insecure, they have a very low self-esteem, a very poor sense of self, a very poor self-image, right? They're very insecure. They're in fear that somebody's going to abandon them, or maybe there's like a betrayal thing going on, but they become so suspicious that they dismantle everything in their life. They disrupt the other person's life. They fucking put cameras in the house. They put cameras, fake, like those hideable cameras, and stuffed animals, and fucking clocks. They watch their
the nanny cams, yeah.
Nanny cams. They put cameras, hidden cameras all over the place. Man, I tell you, it goes south really quick when people start fighting hidden cameras, and shit gets really bad, right? Listen, man, jealousy, and then there's the other type of jealousy that really fucking pisses me off, is that some of us have fucking worked our ass off to the next level, right? Whether it be going to college for fucking 10 years or working 50, 60-hour work weeks, busting your ass, working 2 or 3 jobs. And then instead of the people around you who you trust and you love enjoying what you've earned, they're jealous of it, right? And in somehow, in some way, they get it into their head that you don't deserve it. And that's when the character assassination and the integrity shit comes in. Or they stop hanging out with you because they can't stand the fact that you have more than them, right? And that's extremely problematic because, again, man, right now we all need friends, we all need brothers. We don't need people that are fucking jealous in our life. That's going to make what we've worked really hard to earn non-enjoyable, because nobody wants to play with their fucking toys alone. Nobody wants to play with their fucking toys alone, right? I don't know any, whether you're fucking 8 or you're 60, especially if you're a dude. Most dudes, when they get a new gun, they call their buddy, be like, "Hey, you want to see this fucking Glock I just got?" Or if they get a new fucking car, "Hey, dude, you want to see this new fucking car I got?" Or whatever it is.
Check out my new Jeep. It's going to be awesome. Here's what I got in store for it.
Every time fucking Mac and I get a new flannel, we're like, "New flannel." You know what I mean?
Whoa.
I mean,
We weren't
it's
gonna
like
talk about that.
Rocking the flannel.
We share. We got, whenever we get new boots too, we share the boots too. But
dude,
listen,
we're dorks. We are. But that's a good thing. I can dork out with you. I can dork out with you. Like that's part of it. You know, we like going back to the whole camping thing. Like we're talking, and a couple of different things. Like, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Brian, but I gotta say this now before I'll just totally spaz and fucking forget it. Well, but still, we're having an open exchange of ideas here, man. You know, you're on here. You're part of this now, so we're sharing all of it. But it's like the camping thing, like how we all had shit set up differently. You know, we're talking about this and that, like the exchange of ideas and whatnot. We all said, okay, here's what's going on. We got boom, 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 boom. We got all this going on. Or like when you had your first Jeep and we went on that Jeep ride up in Ocala National Forest, and
That's
just
fun.
having everybody together in like a Jeep crew talking about like the different ideas. Okay, I set it up this way for this reason, and not like, you know, not saying why is it, like not validating, but just like here's the inspiration of what I had in mind. You know, it's like that, or talking about somebody that is like building an AR, like, you know, this is why I did it this way, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And you have some really interesting conversations about that kind of stuff. Yeah, abso-freaking-lutely. You get those ideas together, and it's just like, hey, man, let's check all this shit out together. Okay, cool. Like, we just sit here and nerd out about it. Like, that's, dude, that kind of stuff between both of you guys has like completely been like lifeline at times, like saved my ass from just a mental breakdown in the last like 7-8 years, because things have been rough at times. And like I never told you guys that, but like there's been some times I was in like a really shitty spot. I'm just like, you know, and it's just it's so freaking helpful and like so important to have that connection. No jealousy, no issues. Like we're all just, it's 4 dudes getting together, going camping. We're not jealous if anybody else is saying like, I was jealous of you because you had the dog and the dog would keep you warm in the tent. So like, hey, that was good, you know,
Yeah,
but it was cold as shit that night. So I was like, yeah, the dog would be
it was
good.
chilly. Yeah, that's funny. But you know, man, and then it, man, again, buddy, that's for another conversation. But
Yeah.
listen, man, I that's part of discrimination, though, man, because you know, there's people that get so jealous, they get so envious that they character assassinate the person that they're jealous and envious of, and they become discriminatory against that person. Um, and that ruins friendships, man. Like I said, it ruins friendships, it ruins marriages, it ruins romantic relationships. Shit, it ruins relationships within families because family members maybe they didn't have the opportunities, or and I'm gonna throw this out there, maybe they didn't fucking make the right choices in fucking life.
Yeah.
How about how about
That's
some
big.
fucking, you know,
Yeah.
taking responsibility for your actions and saying, oh, instead of saying woe's me, Joe Snuffy over here's got more than me. How about you say, oh fuck, maybe I didn't fucking make the right decisions in life. Just throwing it out there, right? We're really gonna get into that one because I got some mind blowing shit during the next time we speak about fucking jealousy, man, and then how to deal with it too, right? And
Yeah,
what to
man.
do about that shit. But it's been a pleasure, guys, man. Again, thank you for fucking, you know, letting me speak for like, I don't know, almost 2 hours.
Hey, man, it's all good, brother. I appreciate. No, listen, man. I was, when you came up and you called me with the idea of this, I was like, yeah. I was like, but in order to do this, I was like, you got to come on the show and like, you know, freaking, you know, you got to come on here and fuck this chicken, because like if we do it, it's gonna be like awful. It's gonna be disastrous. Like you had a very specific kind of thing in mind. You had the vision, the outline already in your head. I was like, okay, let's just unbridle that pony and let him go. So
I appreciate it,
no,
man.
I appreciate you coming on here. We look forward to having you back here in a couple of weeks to have the second part of this. Um, Alamo is going to put you, if you want to go ahead and click off of here, that's all good. Alamo will put you backstage. If you cut off, that's all good. But we're going to start wrapping up the show and we'll be back in a minute. So if you're not there, have a good night. But if we see you, we'll see you. Okay.
One last thing,
One last thing.
everybody that's watching, even if you don't think you're in control of your life, you're in control of your life. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Just remember that.
Awesome.
My dog's
Well,
gonna go to the bathroom. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
all right, buddy. See you in a bit. Okay. Did he cut off or did you put him backstage?
I just put it backstage.
Okay. All right. So
I didn't
again,
realize
folks,
he was going to say something.
it's all
I
good.
was like, oh yeah, click. Ah, shit.
That's all good. He had to let the dog out, I bet you. So, but anyway,
Yeah, I heard the dog bark.
that is, and that was our part 1 of Fallout and this topic of discrimination. Again, thank you so much to Brian for coming on here. Obviously, he had a lot to say on the matter. Like, we could
Yeah.
not have had that kind of vision and stuff. You know, this guy has done walk the walk and done all the stuff to be able to really bring this forward. When he talked to me about it, he was like, they're really not talking about this kind of stuff in support groups. I'm like, well, what better way to do it than bring it on the show? Okay. And I'm glad that we did. This was a good one. Like, I know this one ran a little bit longer than some of the other shows we've done, but I don't care. Like, this is a good topic to talk about. Discrimination. It's like, especially with the whole fact of like I was mentioning earlier, like during GWAT, everything was right. We're riding high on pride and service, and everything else. And then nowadays it's like, it's a stark contrast to what we went through during that time. So
Absolutely, it is.
definitely a good thing to talk about. But again, thank you to Brian. We'll see you in a minute. So we're gonna start wrapping up because it is late. It is 11 o'clock now. But I appreciate everybody that stayed with us and stuck through the conversation. A lot of good talking points and discussion, mental discussion points there that you could really think about and kind of chew over a little bit in your private time. So, you never know when it's going to come up, and either you experience it or you might see it through somebody else's eyes or see it third party.
Never know.
So you never know. Okay. But we're gonna start closing out the show this week. And we'll get out of here for a hiatus for a little bit. So, as I mentioned, if you're new to the show, thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate it. Alamo and I have been friends since high school. We met my senior year, his freshman year of high school. 9/11 happened there. That would ultimately change the trajectory of our lives forever. I ended up joining the National Guard here in Florida, deployed to Afghanistan. Alamo joined regular Army, went active duty. Ended up in Washington State, Germany, some other places, all that kind of stuff. But we stayed friends for the duration. We've been friends for going on 22, 23 years almost. No,
2001, dude. Think about that.
2001, so 25 years. Wow. I always think about when I graduated high school.
Old ass.
Anyway, we've stayed friends throughout. Life's kind of led us in different directions. We used to work together. We had a great friend of ours named John that we used to work with. We all kind of left in our own way and all this kind of jazz. Alamo eventually reached out to me later. His wonderful, beautiful, fantastically awesome wife has an organization that she is in charge of called Flipside Mentorship. If you want to see good things by great people to project into the future, flipsidementorship.com. Check it out. They are fucking amazing people over there. They're doing wonderful things. She approached me to work an event for her organization, and I was like, yeah, sure, this looks like fun. So I worked it with Alamo here. We ended up having a absolute blast, acting like asshats and having just fun doing and being ourselves. So afterwards, he kind of reached out and he was like, "Hey, dude, we gotta get the band back together." I'm like, "Yeah, we do." So we talked about different ways we could start working together again. And he brought up the idea of a podcast, and I was like, "Dude, I don't know shit about a podcast." He goes, "Dude, they put a monkey in outer space. How hard can it be?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that logic is logicking right now. Absolutely." So in the course of this, we unfortunately found out that our good friend John, John kind of had some things. I don't know what exactly they were, but he had some things going on, and he chose to solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution, and he committed suicide. And that is unfortunate because John was a dude that was worth knowing. He was the kind of guy that just made work fun. You could be doing the shittiest thing at your job, and it's like, John's here. I'm like, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, let's go. Hey man, the camera's out. Like all the time. Just funny shit that made work enjoyable and a blast. Like I'm surprised we didn't get in more trouble and get fired at times because yeah, nice. Like all the time. All the time. Great dude. And John was a guy that was worth knowing, and he deserved to have his story told. So I reached out to Alamo and I was like, "Hey man, did you hear about John?" And you had said something like, "Oh no, I got to reach out to him. His birthday's coming up." And I'm like, "You can't. He's gone." And for me, that was kind of like the aha moment. I was like, you remember that podcast you were talking about? Like, that's it. I'm in. Like, let's do this. So we started kind of conceptualizing what it was going to be, what our message was, like what we were trying to do with it. Is it just going to be two guys up here acting like asshats, or we're going to do some serious stuff? And when I found out about John, I was like, this is our chance to do something about this. So we came up with the name of the Battle Bros. We came up with the idea of the Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is, it's 4 easy things you can remember. When things are going a little bit rough, things are getting hard, okay, you can kind of use it as a way to just keep your head in a positive place and make it through the day. So if you can remember the letters BROS, you're good to go. Okay. So we're going to go through those real quick. So be tenacious. No matter what you choose to do in life, do it with tenacity, do it with fervor, do it with piss and vinegar running through your veins, do it with, the kind of zero fucks given attitude that is not really seen that often anymore these days. Okay. In the words of the great Ron Swanson, don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. I, for the life of me, can't remember what the hell I said last week as what we were gonna replace that with because of the fact that we had such a good conversation with Brian. I'm not blaming it on Brian, but I was just like, I got to this point, I was like, I'm in the preset in my mind a little bit. I'm like, "Fuck, what did I say last week? I don't remember. I don't remember." Anyway, we'll have to go back and watch it again. So, no matter
Well, yeah,
what,
because I don't remember for the life of me right now.
I'll have to
A
write
part
it
of it's
down
just
somewhere.
because I'm tired as hell.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it's been a long week, so. But yeah, be tenacious. No matter what you choose to do it to the fullest. Be tenacious. R, refuse to surrender. No matter what happens in life, there's going to be, things that don't go your way, obstacles. There's going to be forks in the road. There's going to be detours. There's going to be, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go back to start. Go to jail. I know I'm quoting Monopoly here, but there's a point to that. That happens. It's life. Okay. It is going to be a temporary setback. Don't let it define what's going on, okay? No matter what happens, refuse to surrender, okay? Sometimes you got to stop, pull out your map and your compass, reorient, figure out where you are, shoot that azimuth, and just freaking move out and go from there, okay? Refuse to surrender. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. And kind of keeping with R there, those obstacles that come up can be simple, they can be complex, they can be strenuous, they can be treacherous, whatever the case may be. All right. Sometimes you got to cross a river. Sometimes you got to, go and over a wall, climb over a wall, dig under a wall, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you got to breach a wall with, explosive or vehicular means, whatever the case may be. Okay. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Obliterate your obstacles. Okay. Most importantly, of the Bros Code S, seek out help in a time of need. Okay, as we mentioned with our friend John, he was a funny dude, funny fucker to work with, just a great overall human being, just a great dude. He'd give you the shirt off his back. Okay, and if him being here meant we didn't have this show, I would gladly make that concession any day of the week, twice on Sunday. But he's not. Okay, so this is our way to honor him. This is our way to keep his memory alive. This is our way to help those that might need help themselves. Okay, if there's, like we talked about earlier today, we've talked about it several times, almost every episode. There's times when we don't need to go. There's plenty of times where we shouldn't be alone because we're going through something. Okay, we don't need to be alone because of the fact that we do better in a group. We are social creatures by design. We do better in a group. Okay, like with the hunting or the hunting, the camping trips that I was talking about. That was kind of for the benefit of just going, hey, let's go camping, but also like just getting that kinship, that camaraderie together, that sense of brotherhood, because all of us have busy lives and just going out there and doing all that stuff. But it's also a way for us to check on each other. It's like, let's do something kind of grounding, not that crazy, have a good time, enjoy it, and just trying to check on each other, make sure we're all on doing on the up and up. Okay. If you feel like you're ever in a spot where things aren't going good, okay, reach out to somebody, whether it's somebody you served with, somebody that you trust to talk to people about. Like Brian said, it could be somebody that has no clinical therapeutic experience whatsoever. There's just somebody that's got a good lit sense to listen and to shut the fuck up while you bitch about stuff. And those people are amazing because they will help you out a lot more than you realize. Okay. I
Yes,
myself have come to understand how much of a gift that is, and it surprises you when you find those kind of people because they come up in places you don't expect. Okay, reach out to those people. Okay, talk to them, let them listen if they're so inclined to do so. Um, it can be anybody. It can be a family member, a friend. It can be a service member, a coworker, whatever the case may be. Use your judgment and pick somebody that'll be good for you. If you unfortunately don't have that kind of person in your life, okay, and you feel like you're going to go down a dark path and potentially harm yourself or worse, please stop. Please don't do that. You deserve to be here. We want to keep you here, okay? One of our underlying
those
mission,
around you deserve to have you here.
those around you deserve to have you here. One of our underlying things is trying to stop this statistic right here. At one point, and this might have gone up or down, but at one point, 22 veterans a day were committing suicide, and that's too fucking many. And it's worse. I'm not saying that's kind of blasé, but it's a lot worse when you know somebody. You can put a face to one of those names, and it's somebody you're like, fuck, I know that guy, or I know that person. Okay. So if you don't have anybody that you can reach out to and you find yourself in a bad way, there are options out there for you. Okay. If you feel like you're going to harm yourself, there is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can contact them a number of different ways. Okay. First and foremost is the 800 number. It's 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255, or just dial talk 800-273 Tango Alpha Lima Kilo talk. Okay. You can also hit the 3-digit prefix at 988. Again, that's 988. And you can also text them at 838255. Again, texting at 838255. Get on the line with them. You can press 1 to talk to a live operator that will get you the help you need in your time of crisis. Please utilize this resource if it's necessary. Okay, we are losing so many folks to suicide, and it's something that we have to stop. It is for our group of society, for our subsection of society, it's our pandemic. Okay, we need to help bring this to a close and stop it and get people the help they need. Okay, so if you can remember those 4 things: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need, you can help yourself get to a good point where you can make it through the day, and then on to the next day, and on to the next day, and on to the next day. And even if you feel like maybe, hey, the message that we're giving isn't for you, you never know. You might be the vessel that helps get it to somebody else who may need to hear what they have to say. Okay. So please remember that. It's very, very important. Okay. Our podcast, even though we've been doing this for close to 5 years now, it's still, I would imagine, still largely word of mouth that we're getting brought up or advertised or whatnot. The shorts on YouTube are probably helping a little bit now too. But so thank you, Alamo, for that. But okay, just remember that, this is very important. This is like, I don't want to sound, critical, but like it kind of is in some cases life or death. Okay. So please help us out. Please help us keep your fellow veterans around, your military members and family members, friends, all that kind of stuff.
That's steep.
What's up?
I'm one, and I got curious and looked up the statistics. The 22 a day definitely seems like it might be outdated.
Really?
Yeah.
How bad is it now?
We're looking at what seems to be possibly a 34.7.
Okay.
Shit.
We got our work cut out for us.
Yeah.
But again, that's what we're trying to put a halt to. So if you can help us do that, we would greatly appreciate it. It's not about followers. It's about getting the message out there to help keep us all around. So if you can help us with that, we would greatly appreciate it. So on that note, I'm going to hand it off to this handsome gentleman over here. He's going to finish wrapping out the other stuff, and then we're going to get out of here for this week. And then we'll kind of give you the precursor and the preview of part D. So Alamo,
Yeah.
take it away.
I'll keep my part short and sweet because I am tired as hell, and I feel my eyes starting to droop on me. So,
you look a little tired, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a long week.
I sound like I've been smoking a pack of Newports a day for the last 10
You
years.
do.
Like,
It sounds kind of sexy there, big guy.
no, I
Yeah.
sound sick.
So, long short of it, we have multiple places where you could catch up on social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, as well as the Twitter. Just look us up there. Obviously, you have to look us up by our hashtags. We have for the Facebook, we've got battlebros.podcast. For Instagram, we've got at battlebros_podcast. And for the X, we're at battlebrospc. Once again, that's at battlebrospc on the Twitter. But if you want to have like a little more private kind of little message for us, if you want to say, hey guys, we love what you guys did with this last episode. Hey, one suggestion. Here's what I think you guys should talk about next episode. Whatever, any kind of ideas you have, go
Even
ahead.
if you call us up and say, hey, Gilmore, you suck, you jackass. That's cool too. We get it. We're, Alamo work on that, and I'll sit here and cry in the corner like a little bitch, and that's fine. And we'll work on that. So
the we could do battle bros at pc battle bros pc at gmail.com. That is, we're almost, that is battle bros pc at gmail.com, where you can message us everything from, hey guys, thanks, you guys really helped me out, or hey, I had a cousin of mine that had to watch this and they really got something out of it. Because guess what, guys, sometimes the episode that we're doing might not be for you. I mean, we like to say it's for everybody, but sometimes the message is for somebody else. It just sometimes is what it is. If you like catching us on the YouTube live, great. If you like catching us on other platforms, you could do that on multiple places. You could do that where else? You could do that on iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as Rumble. All you got to do is go to rumble.com and search Battle Bros, all one word. That is rumble.com. Search Battle Bros, all one word, and you will find us there on the Rumble. As for the other platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, just search us there in the search bar, Battle Bros Podcast, and you'll find us there waiting for you, waiting for you to listen.
Are we still getting updated to Spotify pretty regularly, or is that something we still have to go back and do?
I've got to get back in there.
Okay, no worries.
It's been a hot minute. I've got it on the agenda.
I wasn't trying to call you out. I was just generally curious.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I'm just saying I'm tired.
Oh, I'm not telling you to do it right now. No.
No, I'm good.
We'll get to that when we get to it. So it's on the action item list. Anyway, folks, did you have anything else, Alamo, before we shut it out?
No.
All right, man. I'll keep it quick. So again, folks, thank you for joining us. This has been episode 123. This has been Fallout Part 1, Discrimination, with special guest host Brian. Thank you so much for being here. We will not be on the air next week, Friday the 13th. Part of this was that we had to work around. Yeah, it's Friday the 13th.
That's also probably it's probably a good idea we weren't.
Hashtag say you were Catholic without saying you used to be Catholic. Love it. Oh, careful. Oh, man. Anyway, so, part of it was that we had to work around Brian's schedule, which we were happy to do to have him and accommodate him being on our show. So our next broadcast date will be February 20th, Friday, February 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be here for episode 124, Fallout Part 2, Jealousy. Okay, so please tune in and join us. We would love to have you back here as we continue this conversation with our good friend Brian. Until then, thank you for stopping by. We hope you have a good night. Remember to stay warm out there if you're freezing your ass off. I get it. We were doing that too. Whoever you're rooting for in the Super Bowl, go team. Whatever. It's all good. All right. Yeah. We'll see you down the road in a couple of weeks. Just remember, folks, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. And if you can do that, you're going to give yourself a fighting chance to get to the next day and the next day and the next day. My name is Mac. This is Alamo. We are the Battle Bros, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Battle Bros out.